Jewish racketeers in Baltimore. Philip Pacey, Silbert, 1913 to 1995, was a Jewish racketeer from Baltimore City who was involved in the numbers racket. According to newspaper articles, it states that Pacey once ran a big-time numbers racket for several decades starting in the 1940s. In March 1972, they sent Pacey off to prison for running a lottery operation. He got 12 years and served 3. Pacey was past 80 when he died. Bernard Bernie Brown, real name Burko Braun, 1921 to 1974, was a hoodlum from Baltimore who was a former partner of Julius Salisbury. Bernie was known at one time owning 3 block nightclubs and 2 bookstores. Bernie had ties in Miami, Chicago, and Philly. He had been arrested more than a dozen times in those cities on charges of gun possession, assault, income tax evasion, fraud, vagrancy in violation of state and federal liquor laws. He died in 1974 from overdosing on pills. Robert Fifi, London, 1910 to 1980, was a well-known gambler and one of the biggest bookmakers in Baltimore, Maryland. Fifi was born on April 7, 1910, in Maryland. London got his nickname, Fifi, from a long-ago romance that he had with the famed French singer and actress Fifi Dorsey. London was once charged with running a $5 million a year gambling operation in Baltimore. Fifi was involved in real estate and bail bonds. He was also close friends with Baltimore gambling kingpin Julius Salisbury and allegedly was connected to New York Gambino crime family mobster Joseph N. Gallo. London passed away on January 8, 1980, while visiting one of his 2 children in Florida. He was buried at the Shamray Hadith Bay Zemek Tzedek Kong Cemetery, which is located in Baltimore, Maryland. Max Cohen, 1896 to 1970, was a colorful figure from Baltimore City who was known as the mayor of the block. Max Cohen was born on June 15, 1896, in Maryland. According to newspaper articles, it stated that Cohen was known to be a bootlegger. Cohen created a cabaret night spot called the Oasis and a nightclub once called the Music Box. The Oasis took off after the repeal of Prohibition and was packed during the World War II years. In 1946, Cohen served a 6-month term for income tax evasion. Cohen passed away on December 1970 in Baltimore, Maryland. His younger brother Maurice Mo Cohen, 1892 to 1975, was a mentor to Jewish mob boss Julius Salisbury, who would become the new owner of the Oasis nightclub during the 50s-60s. Julius Salisbury, 1915 to 1994, was a numbers runner, money launderer and colorful block nightclub owner of the Oasis nightclub in Baltimore, Maryland. According to the Salisbury WW2 draft card, it has him being born on September 22, 1915, in Berkeley, Virginia to parents Isadore Salisbury and Sarah Murr. Julius arrived in Baltimore from Norfolk, Virginia, with his family in 1927 and settled in East Baltimore. He dropped out of school, drove a cab, and during the 1930s, became acquainted with gambling and block figure Maurice Mo Cohen, who would play a major role in his life. Salisbury was described by federal officials as Baltimore's kingpin of gambling, and one of the city's best bookmakers. Salisbury operated his empire from a basement office of the Oasis nightclub at Frederick and Baltimore Streets. Julius was convicted on gambling charges and sentenced to 15 years. Instead, He walked out the door in 1970 and hasn't been seen since. He may have died in 1994, shortly before his wife died, but no one really knows. He apparently also had a girlfriend at the time named Pam Gale. Julius was connected to Meyer Lansky of NYC and was the godfather of former drug kingpin Melvin Williams of Baltimore. Willis M. Buzz King, 1888 to 1960, was a well-known gambler who operated in Baltimore. Buzz was born on April 12, 1888, in Baltimore, Maryland. In 1936, Buzz, along with 2 others, were indicted for being connected with operations of the Four Deuces Syndicate. In the 1950s, Buzz told the Senate Crime Investigating Committee of making an interest-free loan to the head of the Baltimore Vice Squad.